All right, it can't be stressed enough how important this one is, guys. You absolutely must have full control over your lights in your scene after it's rendered. Okay, that's what we're going to do right here. So it's actually a pretty simple setting, and you're going to find that it actually allows you to do quite a bit. So when you go to your output settings, this is camera output. Yeah, it should be output settings. There are a couple things that you need to change. One is, or can change, that we will be changing quite a bit. We've got the time limit and sampling level. That's what SL is. Basically, this whole engine block is a really good one for us to focus on. I'll get into more details about that stuff later, but you probably do want to limit this at some point to half an hour or something like that, or a sampling level of like 15 for now. Threads priority, don't worry about it. Quality, leave it on production. You can do a draft quality render, but you will not be able to control your lighting afterwards. Okay, it's very important. It must be on production. Okay, so leave it on production or switch it to production if you have it on draft. And then multi-light. This is the key. You can change two things after you produce your renders. You can change the intensity of your lights, or you can change the color of your lights. You can't do that all at once. So I'm going to go to intensity and leave MXI output on composite. That should be fine. Okay, let's do another quick draft render with that. I'm going to go to render. I got to stop the other one. It's probably still running. Okay, so this basically does the same thing. Pay attention to both. If you'll see it in real time modifying down in the preview panel. But what do you guys notice that's different? Oh wait, yeah, light one emitter. Okay, there we go. Huh? Yeah, the options in the bottom right corner is what you're saying. Yeah. So you now have ISO shutter, light one emitter material, sun, and sky. Okay, so what this allows you to do is play with the balancing of all of the lights in the space. So if you have it set to physical sky, then and you've checked on sun, then you'll have sun and sky available there as well. So first and foremost, the primary object of the scene is this light. Okay, the light we can actually modify by bringing it up or bringing it down. Okay, so if I just want a dim light, I just dim it down like that, and it'll stay very dim. And if I bring it all the way up, next sampling level, which is in 41 seconds, it'll refresh. So that's important to note. This refreshed, but this did not, and that's because that next sampling level is waiting. So it only refreshes the main screen on the next sampling level. So let's let that get to the next sampling level. Well, no. Actually, let's play with the sun, too. Oh, there it goes. It actually went early. Is it going to let me get the sky in there? Yeah, okay. So I can amp up the sky, and the sun won't really do much, but you'll notice that this area is going to brighten up a little bit. And let me bring down the light emitter material a little bit. Yeah, that should start to balance out. Bring it down a bit more. I'll bring ISO up. Yes, sir. No, you can stop it and then modify it, and I'll show you that in just a moment. But I'm waiting. There we go. Okay, so so what I did was I brought the light emitter material down. I bumped up the sun and the sky. And then that allowed me, and I also turned down my ISO. So that allowed me to get some more of that effect in the background where I'm getting some of the leakage of the sun and the sky effect into the space. Okay, does that make sense? I hear no objections. Okay, so you will find that as you, well, that's 1,000 watts for that light. As you start to play with the settings, it becomes kind of a balancing game between a lot of different factors. So the more I increase ISO, or increase or decrease ISO and shutter, and the more I play with how much light that emitter 1 material is going for, it can change quite a bit of stuff. So just be cognizant of what it's actually doing, and use that preview panel to the best of your abilities as it's running through. So one thing you'll notice is that this is really grainy. When you start doing a lot of lighting effects, especially when you're mixing interior lights with exterior lights, it takes a long time for it to catch up. Okay, so I did mention, I think on the first day of class, that sometimes you guys will be rendering for a long time, right? This render has only been going for 4 minutes. Some of your renders will have to go for 4, 6, 8 hours in order to get that graininess to go away. Okay, so that's just something you guys need to be prepared for with this software. So remember to utilize drafts, utilize your preview panels. You'll notice that even on these settings, the preview is a little bit grainy too, so you got to be careful with that. All right. And if you can find another faster computer that you can run this on, I think that's probably going to be to your benefit. Okay. What questions do you have on your introduction to interior and exterior lighting? Balancing.
With this being such a basic picture, why does it take so long to render?
Well, interesting question. It's Maxwell. Maxwell is so into the idea of being physically accurate that even this is measuring thousands of ounces of light throughout this space. And this is actually in terms of technical aptitude, this particular scene is not that simple because it's trying to bounce a whole bunch of exterior light coming in from different sides of the environment into the space in order to illuminate it. That's not easy to calculate. It would go a lot faster if we turned off the physical sky and we simulated it with 2 different color lights on the outside, which is what I would suggest when we get later down the road. Does that make sense? Okay. Plus, these computers just are terrible. I'm pretty sure these computers don't even have a graphics card. I think it's just running off the onboard graphics. I could be wrong, but that's how slow they feel.
How much would you say it would take if you have a better graphics card, like a 1080?
Well, actually, I kind of misspoke there. But so I believe this is predominantly running off of the CPU, not the GPU. But if you had a 1080, it should still help it out. They kind of act like bottlenecks to one another. So if you don't have a good enough CPU, your graphics card won't be able to process what it should be running through the GPU, and vice versa. It'll still go pretty fast, but I showed you guys Lumion the other day. It takes less than a minute for a render, sometimes 20 seconds. It'll never be like that. It'll still take a solid, if you do a full production level render, it still takes a solid 4 to 6 hours. Any other questions? All right.